Hello, Internet. I'm Adam Kujawa, Director of Malwarebytes Labs, here at the Malwarebytes Studio to talk to you guys about some cyber summer tips to keep you safe. These tips really kind of fall around travel. If you're going to go somewhere during the summer, if you're going to if you're going to be leaving the house or something like that, these are things you should keep in mind before you leave. And yeah, I'm just going to give a few of them. We have actually a full blog about these. Please check out our blog at blog.malwarebytes.com, and you'll be able to read the full article where we have all the tips in detail. But I'm just going to cover a few of them while we're here. And if you have any questions or want to bring up something, please enter it into the chat if there is a chat available, and I'll answer it best I can. So going ahead and getting started, let's talk about how before you leave for a trip, what should you do? All right. First of all, you should update all of your devices. Okay, every single one of them on your home Wi-Fi, to make sure they have the latest security updates, the latest patches, anything like that. There could be an exploit that's out. There could be another situation in which you would potentially be hit with an attack because you failed to update. So make sure you do that. We always recommend updating, and before you leave, it's very important. The next thing you should probably do is back up all of your valuable data that you're bringing with you. So if you're bringing a hard drive full of, I don't know, 1,000 movies on it that you really, really love and you don't want to lose, it may be a good idea to back that up onto a separate hard drive or a system back at home. So in case you lose that hard drive or something happens to it, it gets destroyed or broken or something like that, then you have the backups available and you can pull them up when you get home. This goes the same for work documents, personal things. Just basically assume that any sort of device you're carrying with you and the data within it is may or may not come back in the same way you brought it. So just keep that in mind before you leave. The next thing that we highly recommend not to do is to post on social media that you're going to be out of town. Okay, that's the easiest and best way for criminals or even friends who may have malicious intentions to know that you're not going to be at your house, or nobody's going to be at your house or your apartment or wherever you live. So it might be a good time to go over there and try to break in. We've been saying this kind of stuff for years, and some people follow it, some people don't. But at the end of the day, you can wait until after you get back from your trip to tell people, hey, I went here, it was awesome, here are the pictures. You don't have to share them while you're on the trip, because doing so will also give away the fact that you are not home. So unless you've got someone at your place who's guarding it or watching it, it's a good idea to just not tell anybody except close friends and family and those that you need to be able to contact that you're actually going out of town. The next thing we want to recommend is on your phones, on your laptops, any sort of devices like that, you should disable the default or the auto connect feature. And this is for your Wi-Fi. This is by default for a lot of devices, so you may have to go into the settings, you may have to remove or forget various network names. This is like Linksys routers or AT&T or Xfinity or something like that. Cyber criminals a lot will go to airports or other crowded areas where they know there's going to be a lot of people, and they'll set up what we call a rogue access point. And what that is basically a laptop or some sort of system with an antenna on it, basically saying, hey, I'm a network, come connect to me. And oftentimes they will pretend to be something legitimate. And if you are in an airport and you see something that says free airport Wi-Fi, totally free, then it's probably somebody doing something crazy like that. In the case of the auto connect options, if the attacker sets up a network with one of the names of these networks that you automatically kind of connect to because you've done it so many times, because it's saved in your phone, then your device may not recognize the fact that this is not actually the network that you want. And you could connect to it and then be sending your information through this network, which can then be hijacked or monitored by cyber criminals using what we call a man-in-the-middle attack. So just keep that in mind. It's probably better when you leave your house, turn off your Wi-Fi on your device until you are somewhere that you are sure that it's safe to turn it back on. So the next thing that I want to go on about is while you're traveling. So this is after you've left, you're on the road. We got a few tips for you there too. If you do use the airport Wi-Fi, and I usually don't recommend it because it's not always safe. And also, as I mentioned before, it could be rogue access points all over the place. But if you do use the airport Wi-Fi, you need to make sure you trust the connection, or that you're using some sort of VPN. Don't put any personal information. Don't log into any accounts. If you just need to check the news or the weather or something like that, that's fine. But don't go doing anything secure or that you want to maintain its security when you're on airport Wi-Fi. And that goes not just for the airport, but any really public computers. If you're in a hotel, if you're at a coffee shop, wherever they have free Wi-Fi, if you log into it and you're using it, do never check your bank account balance. Don't do any online shopping. Everything you do on that system while connected to that network will be transmitted through a proxy that may not be in control by the company that says they're given the Wi-Fi, and it may not be under the power of anyone legitimate. It could be a cyber criminal stealing information again. So highly recommend you don't ever use go on a financial websites or try to order something online with your credit card number in plain text while you're on one of these networks. So the next tip is kind of a no-brainer. It's basically you should use fully updated security software on every device you bring if you can. This includes things like self-promotion, Malwarebytes products. We've got some for Mac, for PC, for Android. Having security solutions on these devices is very important when you're traveling, because there's lots of stuff you could potentially encounter, and you want to be able to get rid of it quickly. You don't want to have to deal with a ransomware infection halfway through your long vacation when you're trying to get some work done. So it's a good idea to just go ahead and just don't make sure you've got everything updated. Make sure you've got that security solution installed. Next, if you leave your devices in the hotel, and you know what, we have to sometimes. That's nothing wrong with that. When I go to conferences, sometimes I have to leave something in the hotel. But when you do, make sure you use the safe. Okay, and even then, if it's super valuable, the safe may not be secure enough or even big enough. So we recommend that you go down to the hotel, talk to the hotel staff, ask them, hey, what do you do about securing larger or more valuable guest items? And if they have a safe downstairs or some other place where they could put it that's going to be completely secure, that is a better option. Hotel rooms are easy to break into. Unfortunately, we've seen lots of examples of cyber criminals creating fake, duplicate, I guess, key cards or various other tricks in order to break into hotel rooms. Once they get in there, the safe's also not the most sophisticated protection in the world. Pretty easy to get through if you know what you're doing. And then all that stuff inside the safe is all yours if you want it. So if you've got something that really cannot be replaced, then you should put it somewhere other than just in your hotel room, and never leave it out. I mean, if you leave your room and you're just going away for like 2 minutes, sure, you don't have to put away all your devices and everything like that. But if you're going to be gone for the day, or at least more than an hour, it's highly recommended that you make sure to secure all these things, because there's even been cases where we've heard about cleaning staff coming in and messing around or taking devices from guests. Now, this isn't obviously the norm, but it's nonetheless something to be concerned about. So one quick note, and you can find more information about this on our blog, as I mentioned before, about traveling abroad, is that you should fully charge all of your devices before you leave. Okay, so because it may be a while before you get a chance to charge your device again, or find an outlet that works with whatever equipment you have. Sometimes if you travel from Europe to the US or vice versa, there's different kinds of plugs, there's different kinds of power requirements. You may need adapters, you may need specialized tools. So just keep that in mind when you're traveling, especially where you're going, that if you need your phone, you don't want it to be at 30% when you're leaving for the airport, okay? And then finally, I just wanted to talk about what to do when you get back. And these are really simple things, and a lot of them, honestly, I can give you some personal experience on why they're important. Okay. First of all, update your security solution and make sure you run scans on all devices, because like before, if you had it on your devices before, the security stuff to stop any attacks trying to get in, now you just run it again, make sure that nobody succeeded, clean everything off the system that may be malicious. So that's always a good idea to just run scans. If you bought any devices abroad, then you should look into if they're clean, if they are compatible with the equipment or the power supplies or whatever in your area. And there are some cases where countries will sell devices that have been compromised that are monitoring people. We've heard about this in various countries out in the East, and hopefully nobody has to deal with that. So that's something that you should watch out for if you do decide to go ahead and buy that $30 iPhone 6 from the weird bodega shop in whatever country you're in. You may be sketchy about what's on it, if anything at all. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up and tell you guys about is that you should check your bank account for any weird things happening. Okay, usually you want to communicate with your bank beforehand and let them know, hey, I'm going to be out of town, I'm going to be traveling abroad, just FYI. And they really do appreciate that. And also because if you have any kind of anti-fraud protection set up on your bank account, then as soon as you try to buy that donut at a restaurant in downtown London, then you're going to get a call from your bank saying, hey, is this you? What's going on? You should do the same thing when you get back. Hey, I just got back from wherever. Here are some charges that I've seen that are kind of suspicious to me. I've had experience with this myself, just not even traveling abroad. I mean, I went to San Francisco, and a hotel I was staying in had we don't know how it happened exactly. I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm not naming anything, but basically I left San Francisco, but my card kept making charges there at various restaurants and things like that. So I knew that it had been compromised, that my card information had been stolen, and I immediately talked to my bank to let them know, hey, please, get these off of there. I've been compromised. My bank or my card is no longer valid, so cancel it. Give me a new one. And it's such a pain to have to deal with that, but keeping an eye out in advance is a good way to avoid that. So that's all the tips that I want to give you guys right now. Like I said, check out the blog to read all of them in more detail. There's good stuff about how to secure your contactless cards and things like that. More information about traveling abroad, especially if you're coming into the U.S. from outside of the country, which, as I understand, is becoming more and more difficult for non-U.S. citizens. And I apologize for that. So now we're going to answer some questions, just some Q&A that I've seen in the chat. And if you have any more, please continue to write in. Let me know what you want me to answer, and I'll cover everything about the summer tips or whatever I can answer. So, question 1. Let's see. Should you use the free Wi-Fi at airports? Well, I already mentioned that you can use it if you can trust it. And it still is a good idea to deploy a VPN solution or some sort of proxy. And at the end of the day, just avoid doing anything that requires you to give credentials to log in or to order something, because that information may very easily be stolen. So keep that in mind. Should I make any updates to my phone security settings, i.e. multiple failed password attempts equal auto erase? Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of new technology that you see from phone developers, like Samsung and Apple. There's technology now that just recognizes your irises, thumbprint. There's obviously the old method of just writing in, a PIN number or just swiping a particular pattern. Any of those things, honestly, gives you just more security than having nothing at all. So if you're super paranoid, there are phones out there that will encrypt everything on them that you don't have to worry about someone stealing and then being able to get data from. But for the average person, you should definitely deploy one or more of those security solutions that I talked about, of those authentication means. So either the PIN number or the fingerprint or the eyes or whatever the next thing is. Maybe they'll have you, take a prick of your finger and give some blood and, iPhone 11. I don't know. But if they do, it's a good idea than just having nothing at all. What are your thoughts on using public charging stations and kiosks? If you have a device that needs to be charged and you can do it in a way where it was only being charged through the USB and not actually opening up file transfer or anything, then it's probably okay for you to utilize a USB charging port at an airport. So, but if you have your phone or a laptop or something else that actually may open up a connection, then it's probably better to avoid that. If you can, try to get an adapter, plug in your USB to that and plug it into the wall somewhere. If you have to sit on the floor of the airport, so be it. It's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, we've seen reports, and of course there's the overall general concern that any sort of open port like that in a public place is probably not the most secure thing in the world. We've also actually heard instances a few years back of those ports being used to infect phones with malware. So that happened. So next question, do you recommend not posting photos of my travels while I'm traveling on social media? I already mentioned that one, but yeah, I don't think that you should. Unless, like I said, there's someone back at home. I mean, if you got your family or your roommates or whatever, or friends that are staying at your house, then fine, do whatever you want. If someone tries to break in, there'll be someone there to stop them. But for everything else, if you're all alone by yourself, or everyone that lives with you is with you, then you should probably try to avoid that and just wait till you get home. I mean, honestly, it'll be a lot easier too. And you could pay attention to them. I know for me traveling, I try to take pictures and then I upload them, and then I spend time waiting for comments and likes and whatever on those particular pictures I uploaded. So it's really not worth it, in my opinion anyway. Is it safe to use ATMs internationally? Is it safe to use ATMs anywhere? That's the real question here. There's so many skimming devices and other things that will try to steal your credit or your card information and your PIN number and things like that. Internationally, I mean, they have the same problems. If you go to an ATM that's like at a bank, then you're more likely to have a better experience. Usually the finance charges or the charges for pulling out money or something are less, but also it's more secure. You have a security guard on there. If you just find it at a random ATM on a corner somewhere, maybe be a little suspicious about it. So if you can help it, try to go to legitimate sources where the ATMs are secured, where you trust the organization running them, and where there's enough security and protection around it, so where you don't have to be concerned. Do you guys have a Discord channel? Not officially, no. Malwarebytes does not officially have a Discord channel. I'm sure a bunch of our employees have their own for various things, but we don't have one. And if we do, I'm not aware of it. Should I use a password management system? Yes, I highly recommend 1Pass, LastPass. I mean, you name it. There's a bunch of other options. There's a bunch of options out there for using a password manager. If you don't want to have all of your passwords up in the cloud somewhere secured, then there are local password managers that you can deploy right on your system, which will do the same thing, but it won't have it up in the cloud. Therefore, some people get concerned about that. I personally don't. I'm not too worried about it. There's a master password that locks all of my passwords, so that even LastPass or 1Password or whoever I use can't unlock it. They can't get to my passwords. So I'm really not concerned about it. And it also allows me to have very, very complex passwords of like 12 to 15 characters easy, without me having to remember them or have to try and memorize and then screw them up a billion times and then reset my password every single time. So it's just way easier in my opinion, and I highly recommend it as a good security measure. There's been a lot of credit card hacks at gas pumps. Any recommendation for staying safe while going to the gas stations? Kind of the same advice I gave before about ATMs. Check for any sort of suspicious tampering that's been going on. Most of the time at gas stations, it's a lot harder to kind of imitate the or skim, I guess, a gas pump than it would be to skim an ATM, but it's nonetheless possible. So in that sense, feel around where you're putting your card in, see if there's anything that's like detachable, or where you actually type the pin in. Make sure that there's not some sort of false plate over that. These are a couple of the tools used by criminals to take credit card information from people because of skimming ATMs and things like gas pumps. So check for that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you've got a place you like to go and you trust it, it's a brand that you're aware of, or that you've been going there for a long time, then it's best to just keep doing that, because even at the end of the day, you can trust the employees at that store a little more than just some, random gas station you find on the side of the road. Next question. Are international Wi-Fi plans safe from your local carrier? For example, you have Verizon in the USA, but buy up the temporary international plan for a month while traveling. I don't know. This is a consumer question. It has nothing to do with security, so sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. I have no idea. Is it safe to use Bluetooth while traveling? It's safe to use it while traveling, but you got to be aware of where you are. I use it on planes to listen to movies that I'm watching. I mean, a lot of people use it to just listen to music while they're going for runs or working out or something. But just keep in mind where you are and what potential threats there may be. For instance, if you go to DEF CON, there are people that are messing around with Bluetooth technology. They're trying to figure out how to exploit it, how to hack it, and in many cases, that particular effort is done at big conferences like DEF CON and against regular people sometimes. So if you're in Vegas during a hacker conference or something, you may want to turn your Bluetooth off if you're not using it. And if it is on, make sure that it's not automatically connecting to things that are easily identifiable or copyable by the cyber criminals. So that it's certainly possible to be harmed through Bluetooth, but it's not super common, and it's not like you're going to encounter that problem everywhere. Question 11. What's the biggest threat for private users in general? Private users. I mean, the biggest threat is honestly just encountering some of the various types of social engineering, scams, and tricks that we see cyber criminals pushing. Everything from malicious emails to do all kinds of things. Like 5-10 years ago, you could tell a phishing email. It was horribly formatted. The spelling was all off. It didn't make any sense. Now, phishing emails look exactly like they should. And they usually come from an address that looks like it should. So in that sense, a lot of people are getting more and more fooled. The most common method of spreading malware today is through malicious email. And that's been the case for over a decade. So this is still an effective method, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. In addition to that, keeping an eye out for various types of scams. I mean, when there's a new thing, when there's a new a sexy topic out there, criminals will try to either exploit users because of their curiosity or interest. For example, we saw lots of scams many years ago about right after the Boston bombing. In other cases, they will try and like, it's just basically clickbait. I mean, at the end of the day, the advertising industry and kind of the tactics that malware authors use are very kind of similar. One learns kind of from the other because they know what's effective. So we've seen scams that include things like, this celebrity died today, and you're like, oh no, so you click on the link and you're, oh, it's a survey, or it's some scam that made me download something, or hey, I've got 1 million infections on my computer, apparently I have to call this number. So avoiding those things and making sure that your friends and family who may not be as tech savvy as you understand what those threats are, that they're out there, and to watch out for them is probably the best recommendation. And as far as the biggest threat, I think that would most likely be it. Just crap and junk that's going to try to steal your personal information, try to steal your credit card information, or these days, mine your system. Use your system as a miner for cryptocurrency. Is it better to just use cash over credit card when traveling to avoid security risks? Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you can help it, bring cash with you, but make sure you got it secured. Don't put $1,000 in your wallet in your back pocket and then just walk around downtown, wherever, Europe, whatever European country. Because obviously that's not safe. If you've got one of those cool travel pouches I don't know if it's cool, but one of those travel pouches that like stick to you, you can use that, or you can just keep some money in a safe back at your hotel or wherever. But doing that instead of using credit cards is not only a good way to make sure that your credit card information is not stolen and then used by criminals, but it also will help you stay in a certain budget. This is the cash I have to use. So there's a little tip outside of cybersecurity. Let's see. Is it safe to share locations in group chats when traveling? I don't think it's safe to ever share locations, to be honest with you. If people don't believe you are where you are, then maybe you shouldn't be talking to them. Honestly, that's the best advice I have. So in that sense, anytime when you're traveling, it's just not a good idea to share, hey, I'm here, or I'm there, and posting that somewhere. So yeah, just be concerned about that. So this is the last question, folks. Feel free to continue the conversation on our in the chat, or on our blog.malwarebytes.com, Malwarebytes Labs. It's my baby. It's the Malware Intelligence Department's baby. And if you want, you can follow me at Kujman5000. I've been Adam Kujawa, Director of Malware Intelligence for Malwarebytes. Thank you for watching and listening to me rant. If you have any more questions, please plug them in. Otherwise, it was great talking to you guys. You have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll talk to you later.